For weeks, it seemed like Meghan Markle is just in a spate of bad press. She cannot get away from the negativity. It is literally everywhere. And what does she do? She does the stupidest thing she can possibly do, which is make a self aggrandizing video on Instagram telling us how wonderful and amazing she is for doing essentially the bare minimum that she can do as an incredibly famous woman living in a $15 million mansion. But looking at this, and I've done a whole sort of breakdown of the video. However, I just want to talk about something a bit deeper today, which is wondering, is this sort of the first sign or one of the signs that Meghan Markle is really starting to melt down over the catastrophically bad press that she has received in January? Was this decision to go on Instagram a rash reaction to a series of bad and poor decisions so she could feel better about herself and how she is being perceived in the press, doing the exact wrong thing in the process? I think that's a distinct possibility. And because of this little sort of breakdown session, I think there might be a distinct possibility that we might see two little someones in Vancouver because Megan is getting desperate, y'all. She is really starting to panic. And this Instagram video, it's just a sign of how pathetic things are getting and how she really just doesn't know what to do anymore, and how she is fundamentally, completely, and utterly misjudged the current media environment and what it means for her in the future. She is operating 10 years behind the times, and it shows. So we are going to break this down today. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany and I provide compelling royal commentary. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would love to have you back. We have such an amazing, fun time here. We also just had the Crown Report earlier today. If you guys want to check that out, there's a link to the live stream. And I also down below, I keep forgetting to do it. Hopefully I'll remember it this time. I also have started a separate channel called The Crown Report where I'll put some of those shorter segments from it on there so that if you guys are interested in learning more about Catherine's recent engagements, what's going on in Norway with Marius, or what has been happening, obviously, in the reaction to the terrible shooting that happened in Sweden. I have those there. So if you want to check them out there, that's an option as well. And we did have somebody already additionally sign up for the France trip, guys. So we only have 5 early bird spots available. I think the trip overall can hold 20 people. We already have 5 signed up. So if you guys want to check that out, it will be in September from the 25th through the 30th. So it's a short little trip really to the south of France. So you get some little sunshine, especially if things are turning cooler where you're at. I've heard it is a great time of year to go. We will also have a little day trip to Monaco. It's optional, so make sure you sign up for that because it's going to be absolutely fantastic. So guys, oh my goodness. When the video first popped up, you guys, on Instagram yesterday, first thought that it was a joke or something, or that somebody had clipped something out of context because that happens. I was like, oh my gosh. And I did a whole breakdown of the video. And here's just the general thoughts in case you missed that video, is that she looks childish. She's literally bragging about how famous she is while somebody else has lost everything. She's literally bragging about how famous she is and how she got free merch. She seems to want us to believe that somehow she couldn't make this happen when she lives in a $15 million mansion and counts Oprah Winfrey as a friend, that somehow it was almost impossible. This Herculean effort to get a hold of Billie Eilish, even though technically, sort of, if she's still with WME, they are represented by the same people. Of course, this was going to happen. This was not that hard. And how the whole thing seemed obviously very contrived and fake, and so many people caught on to that. And it's not played well for anyone. Actually, particularly like how the Daily Beast puts it here. And it says, Meghan Markle torched for getting new Billie Eilish t-shirt for kid who lost home in LA fires. This lousy t-shirt is like part of the subheading. And it goes, the video in which Meghan tells the self-aggrandizing story is rapidly becoming an extraordinary PR failure. And this author, Tom Skaggs, who's actually a royal reporter and stuff, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I don't know any PR person with 2 brain cells who would tell her that that video was a good idea. Again, she spends the entire time telling this overly long story basically saying how famous she is. She name drops a couple of people. I mean, like, we get it. You're famous. Like, that's not something that any of us have trouble imagining. But she has to go on and on and on about it, and it just totally turns people off. It's one thing if the girl who receives the t-shirt decides to brag about you on social media and the great thing you did for her. It looks terrible that not only did Meghan brag about it, she didn't even tell the mother of this girl before bragging about it on social media. She was like, "I just can't stand it. I gotta tell you guys." And she's doing all these quick cuts and everything, and people are saying she's trying to be like TikTokers, and the only thing I could think of is, like, Megan, that TikTokers are like 20. So you're not 20, you're 43. So maybe not try to be like a TikToker. That's probably not the best idea in the world, but this is an extraordinary lapse of judgment. I mean, most things Megan does are a lapse in judgment, but this is horrifically bad. This is horrifically bad. No PR person, again, would tell her to do this. So, what do I think happened in this conundrum? Because we do have an interesting indication that maybe, just maybe, she didn't really have her team's maybe full permission to do this, and that this was totally an element where she went rogue. Because what we have heard from multiple reports is that she can't be told to do things. She does the wrong thing. Her judgment is always wrong. And then she blames other people for the failures. So when you actually look at the Instagram, I noticed this yesterday because it surprised me at first, is that she actually had it on so you could see the likes and the shares. So you can see the likes and the shares of the video. Why is that important? She hasn't done that before. And why do I think she did that? Because she was so desperate, she uploaded it without truly thinking it through. This is, I think, even blunder 3 or 4 when it comes to her Instagram. She made it live without adding Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, and she didn't even put the in there. Let me double check. Has she put the in there? Nope. She's still Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, which is technically her name if she was divorced. So she did that. She just had Meghan there without adding the Duchess of Sussex. There were a couple other things. Oh, she had the wrong aspect ratio for one of the videos. So she had to take it down and re-upload it. But on none of these, actually, has she allowed you basically to see any metrics of the video's performance. We have no clue how any of these videos actually performed. Guess there's something still a bit weird here because the comments have been limited, but there's technically a comment bubble. So I don't know what the heck is going on with her Instagram. But it's clear that this was sort of like haphazard, that it wasn't really well thought through, that she's not even thinking through her Instagram strategy. Now, granted, I'm not probably as clear as I should be on some things, but I come back to always, she has an entire team to do things for her. I do everything myself. I do everything myself. So he has people to do things for her. And she failed to use that. She's had multiple sort of blunders here. But what I think is really notable here is why I think she did this. I think Meghan Markle is really starting to spiral. And I'll actually go to a post I actually just saw recently on X, one of my followers who actually made a great synopsis of how Meghan makes herself so incredibly miserable. I think, and I don't think this person is wrong, that Meghan is constantly miserable because she's so desperate for good press, but she can't make it happen. So this is from MogG1717 says, deep down, she knows people dislike her and she can't stand it. She has to control all aspects of her life. In a way, I feel sorry for her because her consuming need for attention exposes her to a feedback loop she can't abide. And that is 100% correct, guys. Meghan has this desperate, all-encompassing need for all of us to love her and think she's the greatest thing on planet Earth. Yet at the same time, she does incredibly stupid. And so those two things are diametrically opposed to each other. And because of that, she is in this endless, horrible loop. And this person goes on to say, it can't be healthy or a happy existence. Has to be very, very brief moments of ecstasy, followed by long periods of rage, disappointment, and desperation. Pity everyone around her, kids, mother, friends, staff, all must walk on eggshells 24/7. And that's soul crushing for toddlers who lack social and observational skills to navigate it, and those that have their own issues like her husband and hangers on. Suspect her mother and others in her circle, Marcus, actually perversely enjoy pushing her to the brink and controlling her. On the whole, I think her life is pretty pitiful, but I won't excuse her because she's actively unkind to anyone who stands in her way. And that is true. That is true. Meghan is stuck in this constant toxic loop. And I think it's starting to actually make her, because she can't make people love her, that she's starting to get desperate. That video didn't come across as genuine, but desperate, of fame seeking, of attention seeking in so many different ways. Of telling you, oh my gosh, look at my famous friends. Look how wonderful, amazing I am. I'm so great. This girl lost everything in the world, and all I got her was a lousy t shirt. Now, to be 100% fair, guys, in the midst of grief, sometimes it's the small, stupid things that really actually are helpful in the moment. So I don't fault this girl at all for going, you know what? I really just wanted that t-shirt. Although I will say my mom had an interesting observation, and I have my mom sometimes be my litmus test. Probably pronouncing that wrong. But I have my mom to kind of springboard things off of, because sometimes she'll go, "Oh, Brittany, you're going too far." But she really was like, this was weird and cringy and bizarre. And she was talking about how maybe the girl, and Meghan just totally misinterpreted this, was just thinking, because my shirt was in the washing machine or the dryer, and those things are sort of, you could say, the last to go. Maybe those things survived. And all she was thinking of, oh, I was just really hoping my t-shirt survived because it was in this location where maybe it could have. And Meghan just took that and ran with it, going, oh, I can save this girl. I can get her a t-shirt. And I mean, it's lovely, but it's really crappy merchandise that, that's not that pricey and impressive, really, when you think about it. I mean, truly think about it. A touring company probably spent a couple bucks on those shirts buying them. That's sort of how this works. So altogether, the actual amount of money spent to get those items might have been less than $100. I'm just kind of spitballing it here. They'll retail for more. But I mean, obviously the signature for the record is nice. Although, as somebody pointed out, wouldn't it be even better if Meghan arranged for Billie Eilish to meet with this girl? That would be cool too. But I mean, even think as well. Meghan admits in the video that she is a disaster tourist. She literally went there as these people were looking at their destroyed home for the first time. They're emotional, they're grieving, and they have to deal with Meghan freaking Markle thinking that she can solve everything by getting a t-shirt. Nobody wants that. But Meghan is spiraling. She desperately needs something to make her look good. And I think what happened was, I don't think, because she failed to post anything between the start of the fires and the end of the month. So like, there's this whole period of time where she could have been posting a lot about the fires, and she posted diddly freaking squat. And then all of a sudden, she has this little moment where she can uplift herself, and she has to post about it. I think the plan, and to be honest, this is what she should do if she's really sticking to her guns, is because Meta announced a change to the fact-checking policy, that it would be more like community notes rather than dedicated fact checkers. I assumed that Meghan Markle would not use Instagram because she's a woman that stands by her principles, isn't she? And she didn't post. And so I'm like, well, I guess if she's standing by her principles, she's not posting. I mean, I still criticize her posting. Why wouldn't you post and share and uplift? Like, even just sharing the page you had on Archwell to talk about the fires. Why wouldn't you share that? If that meant so much, you have 1.6 million people follow you, and you couldn't share that. Why? Why? It doesn't make sense. But it does make sense. And she kind of decided in the moment, I'm mad at Meta, so I'm not going to post anything. I'm not going to post anything. But the desperation was getting to her. She's seeing the compounding negative headlines, and she's freaking out because she needs us to love her. That's why she doesn't tend to not like some people. If some people have an opinion of her that she doesn't particularly appreciate, she wants everybody to be almost worshipfully in love with her. That's what she wants her husband like. And like, a handful of people are into that. Most of us are like, no. And so what does she do? What does she do? She goes rogue. She posts that video to Instagram, which I'm sure her PR team went, no, why did you do that? But they've got to know. I mean, she is the unwinnable scenario. You cannot win with Meghan Markle because she won't let you win, because she herself is unable to win, because she can't abide by the fact that there is a new world order going on. I think I've talked about this a little bit, but we are the media. in terms of that social media is the media. And you know what's sort of interesting? I noticed that she removed the likes and shares that we could see. She removed it after I said something on X. I was, as far as I'm aware, among the first people to mention it. And then the next day it's gone. Was it because she was watching it? So I think Meghan Markle saw my post, maybe. I'm just speculating here, or somebody on her team did, and said, "Oh my gosh, you have to change that because you didn't want people to know that." And I'm sure some people on the Sussex squad side especially will go, "Oh, you're obsessive." And it's like, well, I like to analyze things. And what I find interesting is inconsistencies in what people are doing. And there's just a natural inconsistency in how she has approached Instagram. Because the thing is, we are the media. People on social media, they see one thing and they pull and they pull and they pull and they pull. That's what Blake Lively learned last year. She did a couple of blunders on her It Ends With Us press tour. And people started resurfacing older interviews. They started looking and digging and digging and digging. And regardless of Meghan Markle trying to sue Justin Baldoni, her director and co-star, she's basically blaming him for the bad press when it was really her fault, in my opinion. In my opinion, it was her fault. She blundered the campaign for her movie, and the result was people noticed a crack. And when people notice a crack, they start to dig, and they dug and they dug and they dug and they found more and more and more. Because oftentimes we can't count on the media to actually do the good research for us anymore. We can't count on them. What does the media want to do? And to be fair, this sometimes I've heard happens in the royal space too. The news media, well, says, well, I don't want to go down that track because we might lose our access to Blake Lively if we post something negative. But the thing is, because of social media, it has given the people a voice. Sometimes that voice is bad, but sometimes that voice is good too. And it's saying, look, we're noticing that this is not a one-off thing at This Ends With Us thing. This is a consistent pattern. And Meghan, I think, has failed to realize that the same thing is happening to her. It's happened over a longer period of time in many ways. But there are many people who, from the jump in the engagement interview, or even like me from the jump when their relationship was announced or during their courtship or whatever, noticed some things that didn't make sense. Noticed some inconsistencies. Noticed that when Meghan said certain things that it either wasn't true, it didn't make sense, or all sorts of different things. And that has compounded and compounded and compounded. And people like me and others are just pulling at the threads. So if she wants to, let's say, navigate the social or media space better, she needs to stop relying on PR, stop relying on ridiculous nonsense, and just be authentic. She was terribly fake and contrived in that video. Terribly fake and contrived. Everybody could feel it and sense it. It was such a non-story that she blew up as if she was Hercules, like doing the trials or something. That's like, you just got the girl a stinking t-shirt. Yeah, take one victory lap in your head, but there are more important fish to fry. And is that literally all you could do for this girl? You traipsed around the ruins of her life and goes, I can get you a t-shirt. I mean, think about it. It's not that impressive. It's really not, especially with a woman of her connections and everything. It's not that impressive. But Meghan Markle can't stand you to believe that. She is so desperate for you to believe that she is Saint Meghan, that she goes rogue. She goes a bit crazy. She goes a bit manic. She's so trying so hard to be in this space, but she's back in 2014 in terms of her media mind. Other people have talked about this for Blake and Ryan as well, is that they were thinking their PR could manage all this. Actually, I think it was in a recent episode of Brett Cooper, she was talking about how when it comes to Blake and Ryan, they were probably thinking like years ago that it could be one and done. They dropped their story in the New York Times and they won. But the thing is, we all have eyes and we all have keyboards or on our phones. And we see other things and we're not as fooled, I think, as we used to be. Not that we were fooled, but is that you can tell, like in the early days of Hollywood, the golden age of Hollywood, there was a lot of bad things going on behind the scenes, but there was this glossy veneer that they managed to portray. That's not happening anymore. You can't really get away with things. People look, people dig, People find out the hypocrisy, the fakeness, and the more we see you, the worse things get. And Meghan, again, the worst thing she could have done is go on Instagram and brag about herself for 2 minutes, telling us how wonderful, famous, and amazing she is, how much money she has. Look at my house, look at my jewelry, look at my kids, all these sorts of things. But in reality, it's like really nothing. She really, really did nothing in many ways. It was nice. But was it anything to have a 2-minute bragging on myself video about it? No, it was not. And I feel like probably the best summation came from The Spectator. So it says Meghan Markle's tone deaf wildfire video is hard to stomach. And it is. It comes across really, really poorly. But here, guys, is the kicker. Now, I pay for a subscription for this and everything. So here is the best. He says the author, who is, let's make sure we credit him, Alexander Larman, who has written about Meghan before, has said, yet there is something so nauseatingly contrived, so fake, so actressy about the little smiles to camera, the faux excitement, the casual name drop of famous friends, and finally, the idea that some signed trinkets can in some way compensate for a truly epochal disaster. It screams of consumerism and fakery, both things by now that the Duchess has intimately associated herself with. That is 100% right. I've said this, guys, a lot. Meghan Markle is unbelievably shallow, vain, and vapid. And that Instagram video encompasses all of those things. It's shallow, it's vain, and it's vapid. And that is her problem, is that she's trying to be something she's not. I think if she actually dug in to that side of herself, she might actually be doing better. But she's trying to act like, I mean, literally, again, think about it. She has a whole 2-minute video talking about how she managed to get a girl a lousy t-shirt and a lunchbox, which apparently she's too old to understand, even though she has school-age children. Weirdness there. So what do I think this means for Invictus? Because I have a bit of a prediction. I think things are getting hungry, hungry hippo time in terms of desperation. She is hungry, hungry for some positive press. She's desperate for it. She's clinging to it. She wants it so badly. Now, the timing of this, you could say, is interesting because Architecture Digest revealed some pictures inside Gloria Steinem's home, and we happened to catch Harry and Meghan's Christmas card with their royal cipher on it, by the way. Golly, could those people be more conceited? I don't know. Anyways, we see this Christmas card with their pictures, kids smiling on it. They themselves as well. Also mimicking Catherine and William on the beach, by the way. We go on. That's not the point. The point is that Meghan Markle, she likes to play games with her children. I'm not one of those who believes she doesn't have the kids. I think she has them. She wants to play games with them. She's also somebody who we've seen often has a desperate need for control. And kids are uncontrollable in many ways. I mean, not totally. If you are a good disciplinarian, which means that you are both loving and disciplined, there is a way to do those things well. I believe my mother should get a gold star for doing it well. But kids, like they say in acting, don't want to work with kids or dogs because they do the darndest things. And Meghan Markle, I think, part of her absolute desperate need for control doesn't want to expose herself to a situation where her kids look out of control or that she in particular can't control them. So she hides, she plays games. And she also doesn't want attention taken away from her by the kids. But again, guys, desperate times call for desperate measures. So I am making a prediction here. And let me know in the comments if you think I am right or wrong. But I actually think that Meghan Markle just may, bring the kids to Vancouver because she needs some positive press and she needs some attention. And she's hoping that the kids will do it. Now, again, kids do the darndest things. So they may not go along with Mommy Markle on everything. So that'll be interesting to see if it does happen. But guys, I'm predicting that could be a distinct possibility. She sort of teased that last year, but with as desperate as things are getting for her and with everything in her life sort of spiraling in a way that she can't contain and all the negative headlines and that she's contributed to more negative headlines, I'm sure is driving her absolutely bonkers. Because yes, she's getting attention, but it's negative attention, which she doesn't want. And also I know people say, why are you promoting it? Not promoting it, guys. I am exposing her by sharing it. That way you can look at it and you can decide, is that a person who's normal and natural or somebody who's a bit crazed and manic and desperate to brag about how famous she is? I leave that up to you to decide. I offer my commentary. As always, these are my opinions. You guys can take them or leave them, but I think that is what we're looking at for Invictus. So guys, let me know in the comments what you think. Is my prediction accurate or is it inaccurate? I'd love to get your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you again very soon. Bye.